Alright guys, Papa Pepper at the Abundant Harvest Homestead back once again, and like a lot of you, I am in a constant fight over this thing called money. As we try to build a homestead or just live a life, there's always all these ins and outs, all these demands on our wallet, and really if your outgo exceeds your income, then your upkeep will be your downfall. So we wrestle with questions like, do I really need to work 45 years straight of my life just to be able to enjoy a little bit of life if I'm not dead already, and things like that. So in this video I'm going to be talking to you about free sources, those free resources that we can get in our area. A lot of them can come off your own land if you're a landowner, but I'm going to focus at the ones away from home right now in this video. I've already done a series talking about how the logs, the trees, the topsoil, the rocks in our property are all beneficial. I'll try to link those in the description. But this one's about the free resources that may be available in your area. And as I step back and look at a lot of what's happened in our property, a lot of what we've invested our time and our effort in, I'm just so overwhelmed at the lack of money that some of this stuff has cost us. Okay, I'm not trying to be rich, I'm just trying to not need money, to need as little of it as possible. And when I get so many things for free, it absolutely blows my mind. So many people pay so much for this stuff. A lot of us can't really afford it. So I just want to throw this out there to hopefully encourage some of you guys as you guys try to just live your life, whether it's in the city, on a small, lot somewhere, or out on a homestead trying to take raw land and turn it into a functioning place for you and your family to not only live and survive but to thrive. So here next to me I have a load of compost that I drove a half hour to pick up yesterday. For me, living in the middle of nowhere, driving a half hour is just the drive to town. If I want to go somewhere like a Walmart, which I often prefer not to, or if I want to go somewhere like a Home Depot, I've got to drive a half hour. However, if I take my trailer with me, there's a place in town where I can get free either wood mulch or compost. The wood mulch is readily available probably on average 11 months out of the year. They almost always have it. Compost kind of ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But when it is, if you're able to get over there and get some, it's a huge benefit and blessing to you. Okay, these days I live in the Ozarks. I gotta go pick this stuff up. When we lived in Wisconsin, we had a place we could drive about 5 minutes from our house. And often what happens in different cities or counties is there'll be certain waste collection places where they'll collect yard waste. Sometimes you can put it on the curb, sometimes you got to drop it off. But what they'll do is they can shred all that stuff down, make a wood mulch, or sometimes they shred it all down and just kind of roll it around with the lawn trimmings, the leaves and stuff like that. Use heavy equipment to push these piles around. Eventually you wind up with some pretty good compost. And we used to be able to go pick it up for free in Wisconsin. Down here in the Ozarks, we're able to go get it for free again. They didn't have a loader, a skid steer, to scoop all this stuff up yesterday, so I had to load this by hand with a pitchfork. That's an important thing. Don't go to town to get mulch without a pitchfork, just in case their loader's down. You might have to do it by hand, but the price is still right because I didn't pay anything for it. Also, a lot of times tree trimming companies or other things, if they'll find a place that somebody will take their trimmed up trees, because a lot of times rather than having it be so bulky, they'll chip or shred them right away into a thing. If they'll find someone who will take that stuff, they'll dump it off on your property. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what we've been able to do because of all of this free compost and mulch, and then I'll show you a couple other free resources that may be available in your area. Now the vast majority of these rocks came off our property, but we've suppressed all the poison ivy, the other stuff, the greenbrier that was growing on our land with these mulched pathways. Use all the rocks, which were a free resource we had on our property. Made raised beds, rabbit manure, topsoil. Topped some of them off with this compost. And yeah, really, compared to what this could have cost us, this is absolutely amazing. So just like a lot of the soil here in the Ozarks is just rock and clay, there's nothing level out here either. So I've actually had to pay to bring in all sorts of ground just to make it level enough for my house. Load after load of pretty much gravel material like that. And recently, because I do not have gutters on yet and it's on my to-do list, I had to reapply a bunch of stuff to cover up where it was getting washed out and leaving it exposed to beneath our trailer there. So I could have once again paid for it, but a really cool thing happens down the street we have a low water bridge that we cross, and because the Ozarks are so hilly and because the majority of the ground is rock and clay, it's not very thirsty, and whenever you get a rain, it just turns into a raging torrent. All sorts of stuff gets swooped down and dumped out all over the place, and sometimes to the point where you really can't even drive through it anymore because there's so much rock and so much gravel. So 3 other really cool resources that I can get for free, and this may be available, you know, somewhere in your area too, depending on how things are, is for one, the gravel. Okay, you can see out here on my driveway too, see that brown patch? That's where a washout comes because I don't have swales in my pasture yet. So it cuts a line right through this nice road base I paid for and creates a hole. So if I can go down there for free, dump some 5-gallon buckets and smooth that back out, that is a great way to do things, and it gives me a little bit of a workout lifting that too. Also, you can see I'm building a number of rock pillars, and then on each side of my perimeter fence, I'm putting a big layer of rock. Check this out. So these are a small sized rock. Some of these are a very large sized rock. And what I'm able to do is to head down there to that creek where it all washes in. This stuff just gets dumped in constantly, like every time it rains. And like I said, a lot of it's got to be removed so you don't drive over it. So I can get both large rocks and small rocks, hey Dodge, for free out there. Now I get it that not everyone lives in an area where you're gonna have creeks just completely dumping stuff on your lap all the time. I get that. But I do know that in a lot of places, people pay for resources like these. I haven't personally bought rocks, I have bought gravel. But this is 2 different sizes of stone that I can work with that are really good. We also get these really cool flat gray ones that I'm actually gonna use as a backdrop for our wood stove. So kind of a backdrop, a heat shield, and I think it's going to look great. They seem to be able to hold up. I think they're going to work, and many people, even here in the Ozarks, pay a lot of money for those type of resources. Now if you live somewhere that maybe isn't as rocky, isn't as you don't have this opportunity, a thing to think about too is a lot of like farmers like to plow their field every spring. And when they do, a lot of the rocks turn up. Well, a lot of times they don't want them. They'll have big piles of them sitting along the fence line, or it's going to be a laborious task for them just to get out there and pick them all. If you don't mind doing a little bit of work, you don't mind making good friends with the neighbor, creating a great situation that works out, you can probably go and pick all those rocks, or, you know, just go to the pile that they already have. With their permission, you know, ask them, talk about it, and probably get a whole bunch for free and take them off their hands where they don't want them, but it gives you an opportunity too. So guys, that's just 5 simple resources that are very useful on my homestead. And when I think about how much of those resources have come onto this property for free, for only the effort of me and my family, it really blesses me because I know how hard it is to get ahead financially. Even when you're cutting all sorts of costs, I know how much it costs me to leave my family to go make money to buy things like that. So a lot of things we would just skip on if they weren't free, but I'm glad that they are. Hopefully that gives you some insight, some encouragement, just looking at things from a different way and figuring things out, because there's probably stuff both on your land but also in the nearby area that are different free sources you could be taking advantage of. I will see you guys next time. Papa out.